Okay. Hello, my name is Juana Gonzalez, and today we're interviewing Ms. Morales, and this is
Sarai Rocha.
and Kimberly. Okay, the first question is, at what age did you become a teen mom?
I was 16 and it was at the start of my junior year. So I was pregnant on my junior year.
Did you ever feel judged by family members or by anyone else?
Yes, there was a lot of judgment about me being pregnant at that age.
How did it make you feel?
It made me, I had a lot of emotions in regards to that, because you feel that your family and friends are supposed to support you through good and bad. And when I found out that I was being judged, that was really hurtful and disappointing. I had friends that supported me, but mostly I think that I felt upset about my family judging me.
Were you aware of places to go if you decided you weren't going to keep the baby?
I was made aware by the social worker that was overseeing my pregnancy about the options that I had if I decided not to keep the child.
What was your reaction when you found out you were pregnant?
I was shocked. I was definitely shocked. Again, a lot of emotions. I think more than anything, shocked and scared.
How did you tell your parents, and were they supportive?
That is a very interesting way that they found out. Well, my mom found out because she's the typical Hispanic Mexican mom that doesn't know boundaries or privacy. So she went through my stuff and found an ultrasound with my information. So she confronted me about the ultrasound and just straight out asked me if I was pregnant. And my dad, he found out later in my pregnancy. I was about 7.5, maybe 8 months pregnant when he found out. And the way that he found out was through a letter that I wrote him, because I didn't have the courage to tell him face to face that his oldest daughter was pregnant.
And were they supportive?
Shockingly, yes, because you have this belief or assumption that because you come from a Mexican strict household that you're not going to be supported, and you think that you're going to be thrown out of the house, as others sadly have been. But my parents were supportive. They sat down with me and they told me that because I was getting close to my end of my high school year, that I had to finish high school, and then after that I had to decide what I had to do, because I had a child on the way. So it was either continue my education and they would continue to support me with that, or get a job to support my child. So whatever decision I made, they supported.
Did you go to college right after high school?
I did. I first went to a vocational school, which is Central Coast College, and it's a 10-month program in Salinas, California. I did that program with the hopes of having a better job. Didn't really pan out as I planned. Then from there, after seeing that my job wasn't covering my expenses, I decided to go back to college, and I went to Harnell College, Community College in Salinas, completed my associate's degree there. From there I went to Bradman University, which is a university in Monterey, California, and completed my bachelor's degree with the social science. And then from there I went and got my master's and credentials and PPS. So I some way somehow continued my education.
How did you balance parenting and school?
I think that has always been a challenge. I mean, my child pretty much grew up in the education. Being pregnant at 16, going to school pregnant. After pregnant, I did my senior year I did a semester at home. Then went back to high school because I wanted to walk with my class. I was able to do that. So then when I was going to college, all through college and in my university years, it was really challenging because I was working full time and I was going to school part time at night. So balancing that was very challenging. But I think that I was able to do that because of the support of my family. When I was at work or at school, my mom was my rock, who is my biggest supporter. And if I didn't have her, I wouldn't be able to continue my education and be where I'm at right now.
What was your experience with medical insurance during your pregnancy?
Well, being a 16-year-old, not knowing anything about insurance or that you need insurance to go to the doctor, again, the social worker that I was overseeing my pregnancy was the one that connected me with Medi-Cal because coming from a low-income family, that was the path that I took. I had to use Medi-Cal for my pregnancy, and they put me under emergency Medi-Cal because at the time my parents still didn't know that I was pregnant, and I wanted to keep it confidential till I decided or my mom found out that I was pregnant. So I had to monthly submit paperwork to Medi-Cal that to continue my eligibility for Medi-Cal.
Was the baby's father supportive when he found out you were pregnant?
No. He didn't find out that I was pregnant. I want to say I was maybe about 4 months pregnant, or maybe a little bit further along. But when he found out, he was not supportive of my pregnancy.
How did that make you feel?
That made me feel really mad because it wasn't just my responsibility, it was a mutual responsibility. But with that, I never put that on him to step up and do what he was supposed to do. I just felt really upset and really hurt that he didn't want to be responsible. But I couldn't hold him to be responsible if he didn't want to, because it was gonna even make a bigger situation out of it.
Teenagers don't really get the sex talk from their parents. Did you ever get it?
No, I didn't get any of the sex talk or the birds and the bees conversation. So I think that's still a really sensitive subject for my mom. She still gets a little bit squirmish about having those conversations because she feels that she wasn't talked about it, so she shouldn't talk about it either. So it's there was no communication about my reproductive system or how to take care of my reproductive system.
What are some things you would do differently if you were to become pregnant now?
Well, I think that knowing what I know now, the importance of taking care of yourself right away when you find out you're pregnant, which means that having your regular checkups, taking care of your what you're eating and how you're exercising, you're sleeping, is very important. And more than anything, having that support that you need, emotional, because I think that bringing a child into the world is more than just bringing a child into the world. It's a life responsibility. So I think that being very aware of all the changes that has when you have a child.
What were your plans before pregnancy and after you gave birth? How did it change?
It changed drastically. Before I even got pregnant, I didn't want to complete high school. I was ready to drop out and just figure out life without a high school education. I didn't see myself continuing my education. I was pushing to just graduate just to satisfy my parents. But when I found out that I was pregnant and I was going to be responsible for another human being, I quickly had to grow up and figure out what my next steps were gonna be. And I mean, besides being thankful for my mom and supporting me, I think that my baby was a blessing in disguise, because again, without him, I don't think that I would be who I am now. He made me grow up a lot quickly, but I think that it was a blessing in disguise.
And then, what does your son, now that he is older, think about your parenting skills?
Mm, well, maybe because I'm his mom, and when I ask him, he just tells me that they're decent or it's okay. Maybe if somebody else would have asked him, but he might have a different response. But
Is there something you learned during your pregnancy?
I learned a lot during my pregnancy. I learned that I have to be responsible for my actions, and that all actions have consequences, good and bad, and that I learned to be very resilient, that I can't give up when things get tough.
How has having a son his age changed you as a person?
Mm, I think that having a son his age definitely is a little bit weird when I really like think about it and reflect that I have a child his age, because most of the people my age are just starting with their children. But I think that it allowed me to grow up with him, and it allowed me to have the relationship that we have. We can be friends, and we can be mom and son, and I think that he understands that there's a line between me being his mom, and that there's a line between me and him being able to be friends.
How old is your son?
He is 20 years old. He will be 21 in August.